need to make a movie is a girl and a gun. Come along and join the party. I'm still at the sun.
Hello, welcome to this episode of A Girl and a Gun, the show for filmmakers and content creators. In this special episode, we're still on break here at the college, so we're going to show you another special interview, this one with concept artist and surrealist painter Mike Worrall. We had the opportunity to talk with Mike a few weeks ago. He's worked on some great films, many of which never ultimately got made, but still a lot of concept work done for them. You'll recognise some of the titles that he's worked on. He's worked as a concept artist, storyboard artist, and sometime art director on many films. So this interview with Mike Worrall, surrealist painter and concept artist, coming up right now. Hello and welcome to this special interview of A Girl and a Gun with Mike Worrall, artist. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Phil.
I say artist, that's a very broad term because you've done a lot of different things. You're a portrait artist.
Well, I do portraits.
You do portraits and landscape.
I don't call myself a portrait artist.
What do you call yourself?
A surrealist artist, I suppose.
Surrealist artist?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to give me a label, a romantic surrealist label, surrealist artist. That's what someone
you have
called
done
me.
portraits like for the Archibald and prizes like that. We're talking about fine art, traditional painting. But the reason we're here to talk to you today is mainly for your film work as a concept artist.
Yeah.
For films.
Which I
Take
spent
you
a few
right back
years.
to where that all started.
Well, it started with through my practice as a fine art painter, or whatever you call me, as a painter artist. You know, working in a garret or studio.
This is in
London.
London, right.
This would be around the 1971, early 70s,
Right.
where my first introduction to film was through Roman Polanski.
Roman Polanski, how did that happen?
Roman Polanski. Well, he was a friend of Victor Lowndes, good friend of Victor Lowndes, who was Hefner's right-hand man in Europe.
Hefner?
Hugh Hefner's right-hand man in Europe.
Right. This is the Playboy.
The Playboy Empire thing, and they were mates. And Victor Lowndes bought my work for about 3 years, everything I did, and
how did that happen?
helped me.
Just tell me the
Well,
story.
I used to hang on the railings.
The railings?
The railings at Hyde Park along Bayswater
Out on
Road.
the street.
Bayswater Road,
Right.
yeah, and on Sundays. Worked like mad Fridays and Saturdays and eat wet paintings up and put them there. This time, a good friend of mine, Jeff Holt, he suddenly turned up one day with all these large, elaborate surrealist paintings and seemed to be selling them for a lot more than I'd been selling my paintings for. Anyway, I worked on this painting called After the Rape.
Yes.
Bill Cosby said they were passing in the car and he saw it, and Bill Cosby said, "Well, why don't we stop and have a look?" So they came back, and Victor Lowndes bought the painting.
Bought that?
That painting.
Yeah.
And then he said, "I can't take it in this car. It's too big. The painting's too big." The painting was about this big, but too big to get in the car. And so he said, "Take it back to my address in Connaught Square," which I did. And then I got a phone call from him saying he'd like to see the other paintings, of which he bought them all. And then everything I did for the next 3 years, he bought.
Great.
Dead handy. Yeah, it was. And he set me up with an art gallery in Cork Street in Mayfair, and called the Piccadilly Gallery, Godfrey Pilkington, and I had a one-man show there in 1971.
So how did this connect to ultimately Roman Polanski?
Oh, Roman Polanski, he was friends. Roman Polanski saw a couple of my paintings, saw a painting and said he wanted to buy it. So he bought that painting off Victor Lowndes, I think it was.
Right.
And it was called The Mace. they were pretty grim subjects I was doing in those days. I was in my 20s, and what happened was he had it hanging in his house when Sharon Tate got murdered in LA.
Charles Manson.
Charles Manson's.
Yeah.
And the painting, as the story goes anyway, the photographers, he'd gone over to LA, and his house was been the morning that the news broke, or a couple of mornings later probably, because the house was empty and they were photographing every object through the windows. Yeah, the reporter,
Roman Polanski
journalist.
wasn't there, he was away, but because it was such a big
that's right.
story.
And he only had 2 paintings in there. One was someone else's and one was mine. And they blew it up and got my signature.
A photographer telephoto through the window of the house and caught.
That's what he told me. Yeah.
And saw your signature and tracked you down.
Tracked me down, and I got this phone call in the morning, and saying what was the title of the painting, and he said when I said it was the mace, he said, "Oh, is that a ceremonial mace?" You know, trying to connect it with Rosemary's Baby, which was Roman Polanski's earlier film of a few years earlier, to do with the devil and all that, and the fact that it was
Charles
such
Manson was a cult and all
well,
that.
that's right. Yeah, by 72 or 71, he'd embarked on his next film, which was Macbeth, and which he told me and several other people that he got the idea from that painting, the mace.
The mace basically inspired the look for Polanski's Macbeth.
Yeah, I know it's a it's a tall one, but it's true.
It's a start.
Yeah. Anyway, and he wanted me to use the scene at the beginning of the film, which he did. I mean, my paintings like that.
Tall.
He wanted it like that.
Widescreen. Yeah.
So that was my introduction to film. It's a long way of getting around it. Sorry, but I had to turn that into Panavision, that shot.
So you did do a concept drawing for him, converting that mace into a design for that.
And I remember there were lots of dead horses. In my painting, there was one dead horse.
Right.
And he wanted more dead horses all over the place. And he said, "There's not enough dead horses." And I said, "But what are you're going to use real horses, aren't you?" He said, "Of course." I said, "Well, I can't, I'm sorry, I can't add to the pile of dead horses here if you're going to slaughter them and make them dead just for the film, you know."
They weren't going to the real
He said no. He did say that they were going to a slaughterhouse and they would use.
Oh, they were real dead
Yeah,
horses.
they'd use real dead horses.
Well, that's an unusual start to get into art direction and production design on films.
Yeah, well, I did. He did want me to be the war artist on it and go down to Wales, you know, as a medieval war artist, but I didn't have the money to go on the train, so I didn't get to that. And then my next introduction would have been with Nick Roeg.
Oh yes, how'd you meet him?
In the Flash Gordon thing. Well, through my girlfriend, who used to clean for him and his wife.
Girlfriend cleaned for the Roeg family.
That's right. And Liz Sue, his then wife, wanted some portraits done, or wanted to have a look at my portfolio, because she heard that I did portraits, or was capable of doing portraits, so, and with the eye of doing her and the kids, and maybe all the kids. And so he would have seen my portfolio there, and he was just embarking on Flash Gordon.
Now this is not the Flash Gordon we know that was made. This is an earlier attempt at it, yeah?
Yeah. His was going to be a musical ballet, Flash Gordon. And he was going to have Blondie.
Deborah Harry.
Deborah Harry. And a few other people I can't remember now.
So he saw these portraits and he asked you to be involved in that?
No, I didn't show just portraits. I showed all the paintings.
Portfolio, yes.
Portfolio, yeah. And on the strength of that, he invited me to be part of the team to come up with some concepts, of which I worked about 3 months on that, and I did some really big, elaborate, like oil paintings of them. Well, they were actually gouache, but I mean they were quite elaborate and detailed, and like his gist was that he didn't want anything to look NASA-like. He wanted a spaceship to be like if you can imagine, a great globule of water that you walk towards. Nick Roeg's Flash Gordon.
Oh, another film that never got made.
Yeah, no, back in 1978. I worked for months on this. He worked a long time on this. Nando Scarfiotti was the production designer. I was lucky, so I could just work at home in West Kent, knocking these out. And these were the concept drawings, of which I do a colour rendition of.
Right. But you don't have any of those?
I don't have any of that, no. But of course, they ended up, these were all like great ideas, but wouldn't look much good on the screen.
Yeah.
So, did a lot of work on that one anyway.
So all the concept, which we have seen some of, the sketches that you've done for that, these great big epic possible locations for that version of the film that never happened. Did you have any concept back then of how would they build this, how would they make it?
No. He told me, Nando Scarfiotti, the production designer, he said, don't worry about how it's made. Our guys will do it. We will do anything. So, just dream up anything and we'll do it.
And I know,
as long as it's filmable.
In your later experience, you actually did have to build some of your designs.
Yeah, I did, yes, yeah.
It was a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that film never saw the light of day.
No.
You've worked on a few films that haven't seen the light of day.
Yeah, quite a few, yeah. Everybody does.
Yeah, most famously, you worked on a version of Alien 3.
Yeah, Alien 3
How did
by
that come
Vincent
about?
Ward. Well, I'd worked with Vincent Ward, who'd been invited to direct Alien 3.
So, let me go back. How did you start working with Vincent Ward?
I moved to New Zealand in 81.
Right.
Yeah.
And such a small film community at the time, Vincent Ward being part of that.
That's right. And I went to the appropriate people and met him through an agent,
Right.
Agency. I was actively hunting out a film career by that time.
You were seeking work in film by that point.
I was fed up with making no money being an artist and
I
realised you
no
could
money
make.
too.
And I looked back and I thought, well, I made some money on that Flash Gordon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the better known films that you worked on with him was What Dreams May Come.
What Dreams May Come, Navigator.
And Navigator at the end.
And Vigil, and was there another one?
Well, what Dreams May Come is a very visual film.
The moment that comes for everyone. Has come for Chris Nielsen.
You've died, Chris.
If heaven were a place of beauty
Whoa! Boy, I screwed up. I'm in dog heaven.
and wonder,
Nice place you got here.
No. Nice place you got here. We all paint our own surroundings. You're the first guy I know to use real paint.
where you felt no fear
I'm gonna drown.
Can't. You're already dead.
Oh,
and knew only joy,
I can fly.
It's your world. Oh, woo!
could you forget the past
I need Annie. That'll change in time. Time does not exist here. And wherever it went, it's not gonna make me need Annie any less.
or would you journey beyond heaven and hell
You never see her.
I'm her soulmate. I can find her.
to get it back?
All you're good for is your wife loves you.
You just kept me there.
Robin Williams,
It's about not giving up.
Cuba Gooding Jr.,
He's never been anywhere like this before.
Well, neither have you.
I'm not leaving him.
Annabella Sciorra,
Across whatever distance there is, I send you my love.
You'll find her. You can do it. I believe in you. I'm still here, babe. I still
exist.
What dreams may come.
And it's replicating like Van Gogh paintings and all this and these dream
great.
sequences. How much were you involved in that part of the process?
Well, quite a lot. I mean, right in the beginning, we went out to LA and I worked for 7 weeks on it, and then it stopped. And then it took off about the same time a year later, 97, and I went out for another 8 weeks. And during that time, I had to hide in cupboards and things like that and not be seen.
Why?
Because of the union.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't a union member, and so I had to be sort of work. That's why you don't see my name on the the thing at the end.
So what was your
You do
actual
see
role?
my name there, but I'm a consultant.
Consultant.
On paintings or something like that.
So
I can't
what?
remember.
What did you really do on the film?
Well, what I really did was I was the first artist there to start knocking out some of these concepts of his ideas.
For those dream sequences, for those heaven sequences or hell
All of them.
Right. So
Went
all the
through
concept backgrounds, the way it ended up looking, the structures,
would be, I'd have a heavy influence, put it that way, on it, even though there were lots of other artists brought in to do it as well.
So you got that ball rolling, you started the whole thing.
Yeah.
Was it good working with Vincent? Was it a good relationship?
Yes, very good.
Well, you've done quite a few films with him. So.
Yeah, we're mates, you know, I mean, he's a good guy.
And there was
work
also, and that brings us to Alien, because that was going to be his version of Alien 3, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was invited to do Alien 3, and as the story goes, he chucked the script out the window as he went over on the plane. I don't know how he opened the window and chucked it out, but or he threw it on the floor or something.
Yeah.
And it wrote his own outline, and they sort of approved it and were enthusiastic about it in the beginning.
So what was that?
The 20th Century Fox people.
What was his story?
Well, his story was, I don't know what the original one was. I have no recollection. His was that Sigourney Weaver, I can't remember her name, the character. Ripley, after escaping from the last film and the alien in a pod, escape pod, lands on this inland sea on a wooden sort of planet, which is a monastery. This was the inland sea on the wooden, this is supposed to be the wooden monastery.
Right. It was a monastery rather than a prison.
Yeah, that's
complex.
right. The original thing was a monastery, and it was vast. Like this was the corn that was grown in, you know, cornfield. These are the monks running through it, away from the alien, who can't be seen there. Not seen. All right. In the middle was this was my concept. Vincent didn't actually like that. So,
You didn't like this one?
no, he didn't like that. Because it was supposed to be some sort of significant thing in the middle.
Was it too phallic?
Too phallic, I don't know. Oh, there's the alien running amok.
There's the alien chasing them, yeah.
There's Sigourney Weaver imprisoned when she first comes off the ship. Anyway, the idea of these monks' industry on Earth has put these religious sects on a sort of crafted, built out of wood, railway sleeves, if you like. I remember that term being used. Monastery that sits in space, floats around in space. And this is where the alien Sigourney Weaver, in her escape pod from the previous film, lands up on this.
Right.
In the middle of this sort of ocean here. But, how they kept the atmosphere inside, or gravity and all that, didn't really matter. You know, we didn't have to work that out. Vincent wasn't bothered with anything like that. And anyway, because Geiger wouldn't come over to the UK to do the Alien, or he wanted £20,000 or something just to come over and talk about it. Vincent said, "Oh, well, you do it, Mike." So I had to go at this for about a week, doing different aliens. This is the original drawing. They've kept the original drawing, and I noticed, someone told me that the original drawing of this sold for about $3,000 or $4,000 at auction recently in LA.
Of yours?
Yeah, this one.
So
that's a print.
Right.
This was the workout drawing for
Right.
the original, which looks probably better than the original. The finished.
So who had it or who's got it now?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, well, someone half-inched them or 20 something. I don't know. This was supposed to be the embryo growing in side Sigourney Weaver's womb.
So there were some things from this version of the film that carried over into the one that got made.
Probably, yeah.
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 Some basic story ideas.
Yeah. It would have been a great film, though, this.
Why? Why do you think this would have been great?
Well, the idea of a wooden monastery and some of his concepts, Ward's concepts, were really good. I remember thinking at the time, you know, like the half baby and alien and all that, half human. And I remember there was
Well, yes, in the one that was made, we never saw the embryo.
Yeah, and this was another one. This was to do with witchcraft and devilry and all this, you know, like the features on the arse of this sheep, because there were sheep on the
planet.
in the wooden planet. So that was another bit of a concept. This where they're searching through the wooden ship. He looks very human, though. This was sort of...
The wooden monastery in space.
Yeah. Which I remember was sort of I was heavily influenced by that big sort of planet ship in Star Wars.
The Death Star.
Yeah, Death Star, that was it. This is a wooden Death Star. I remember saying to Vincent, "Well, how many miles across is it?" He said, "Oh, about 10. Well, here it's not even a mile.
So it's meant to be 10 times that size.
Yeah.
So this is all done in a few weeks, all this concept art for a film that never gets
3
made.
weeks, yeah. Yeah. Like, did loads of drawings of the side of the beach. He was never really satisfied. They can be very difficult people to please.
Directors?
Directors, yeah.
Tell me about it.
You know, and the drawings you had to do. I remember drawing myself silly one day, you know, and doing the same thing. You want to grab them by the collar and say, "What do you bloody want then?" And of course you can't do that.
What was this?
Well, these are all these drawings, and in this drawing, he'd probably forgotten. Well, he would have done.
Forgotten that he'd asked for something like
Yeah.
that.
No, he'd forgotten that he'd asked me so many times. I did so many drawings.
Yeah.
I was working with production designer. Name escapes me. Welsh guy who did all the Bond films and all that.
Right.
So, and he had his team as well.
So even in those, you were on for 3 weeks, but they were going for a bit, they seemed to be ramping up to real production for a while there.
Oh yes, we were full in, but Vincent had fallings out with the producers, the film company, the production designer. He fell out with everybody. Yeah, well, anyway, he fell out with everybody.
And it ended up going to someone else. Well, you'd moved to New Zealand, you'd met Vincent Ward, you worked on a couple of his films, and you're working on other stuff in New Zealand as well. One in particular we've had a look at was Savage Island.
Ladies, what a lovely surprise. Excuse me. Alone at last. Goodbye, darling.
Savage Islands was the first one I worked on over there.
Yeah.
And that was a real block. It was supposed to be a blockbuster in the theme of the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Well, because I remember this because a friend of mine was in that film, Max Phipps, who played the villain.
Yeah.
And I've got some stories that Max related to me, which I won't repeat here. What was your experience on that film, though? On the actually?
Well, I mean, it was my first experience on a big film, right through to the bitter end. Like
So you're designing, you're building, all the way through production.
Yeah, that's right. We designed it, decorated, built the sets. Well, I mean, physically, yeah. We did. If there was anything artistic, like carving, sculptures, and things like this, and making the machines. I mean, the big death machine that you see. Looking at it, I'd never do it in huge detail like that. Because, I mean, we didn't really stick to that. But we didn't really know that we'd be building it. But
what did you think you were going to do?
Well, someone else was going to build it.
I didn't realise you were going to have to
No.
build it. So that became this.
Yeah, that's it. And my brother and I, we both designed this. He designed that with a girl. Who was the star? Can you remember her?
Jenny Seagrave.
Jenny Seagrave. I had to draw an outline around her to make sure that she could
Actually fit on the thing.
She actually fitted on that.
We'll never get her out of that. If we do save her, Mr. Blake, I'll rely on you to save us.
Hi, sir.
Your Majesty.
And went up and down on it.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't get me on there. And obviously there was a structure behind her, you know, like a brace, and she was strapped on. She couldn't have fallen off, but it was still pretty dodgy.
Yeah.
And this was the palace, and you can see the foam where the water's eroded the paint colour. We actually built and decorated the palace, the King's Palace on the lake, which consisted of big piles that went down onto the rock, and it just rested on the rock bed, which was about, you know, maybe from there to there, in the shallows. And I remember going on there, and there were earth tremors that you didn't feel on the land, but you felt all the time on this thing.
So the whole palace was
Yeah, the whole thing, the whole palace would shake like that and undulate. It was amazing. Actually stayed together. And I remember my son Josh made all these skulls, pumped them out. They're all foam. Like if a stiff wind came, they'd all blow out. And that's one of the helmets. That's the original helmet for the Madmen. That's made out of basically plasticine.
You were telling me about these helmets being too big?
Yeah, they're too big. If you see the film, you can see they're having problems keeping them on. They're sort of waving around and sort of like that as they go down along. And I was told by one of the producers that this was going to be the case, but I didn't take any notice of him. He sort of gave me a wry smile afterwards, you know, when he saw it. And these were for the, this was my brother Pete's idea. He came up with this idea, great. Except there was a bugger to work. They had to make so many because they kept on breaking.
Right. What were they made of?
Well, they're fiberglass.
Right.
And this is the string bridge or rope bridge or swing bridge.
Yes, an idea that was pinched, I gather, for the second Indiana Jones film.
Yeah,
The whole rope bridge
I believe so.
chase.
Yeah. And we were told we couldn't use definite Maori symbolism or images by the elders that came round. And but you can see there is a Pacific Island feel in here with these masts cut out of wood.
Now, looking at this, I remember this from the film, it was a lot bigger than that.
Very interesting engineering.
Engineering my ass. It's magic.
Yeah, it was about twice the size. I got the scale wrong by putting him in too big. But you know, I mean, you're just cutting things up there. What the hell are those? Pendulous press. I don't remember doing that. And anyway, these were made out of fiberglass and foam. So we made up a structure, and they had to be really strong because they had to lift up like that. And these would be, I don't know, 30 feet long. And they're quite heavy. So, and the claws were all made out of foam and then fiberglassed over the foam. So they were quite hard. In fact, we went around rubbing these down afterwards because people kept on getting cut feet and hands, you know, from the fiberglass. And everything was built in a hurry. You know, you had days to do this, or a week, or something like that. You know, it was. I think we were all working on it for about. Well, we went right through from the designing concept stages, pre-production, to the finishing, and then some of us went on to shooting. Well, we were around when the shooting was.
Well, that's true with almost any film. You never have enough time.
Yeah. I can't remember how many months we had to do it all from start to finish. Maybe 5 months.
Had you had much experience like building props like this on this scale?
No, this is my first time.
So how did you cope? I mean,
there was a lot of stress actually, because the film was full of egotistical people, and there's always someone trying to nudge you over.
Tommy Lee Jones in particular.
Yeah. Tom Lee Jones. He fell out with my son, who was 16.
Who was working with you on the
set design? And he's a method actor, and he's a nice guy, but anyway, he threw a wobbly because he didn't feel he was getting the respect from Josh, my son. Then he took him wrong, read him wrong. He was wearing in his pirate boots.
Tommy Lee was?
No, Josh was.
Oh, he's wearing Tommy's
boots, and I can't remember the story, but anyway, he fell out and had a wobbly in the car park, and later on it led to my son getting the sack.
You're still working on the film, your son?
I was still working on the film, yeah.
So you had to design these great big set pieces.
Yeah.
What did you build them out of?
Well, we built them out of, the traditional types of, like wood for the walls of a dungeon and things like that. And then plaster. There was a lot of plaster work for the actual stone walls. And I'd make up a set, a sort of 2 metre square thing on the floor and carve it out of foam. And then we'd take a mould of it. We had to learn how to take moulds. To a certain extent, I knew this as well, and we had some really clever people on board. In the beginning, they were just clever Kiwis that knew how to, didn't know how to do it, but we learned.
Never done it
and
for
then people came in from Australia that had done it before.
Well, you were telling me
we didn't know how to do it, paint a set.
Exactly.
How to paint a set.
How to paint a set.
And the people that were on there trying to paint the set didn't know how to do it, and Morris came in. He was the designer, the chief designer. He said, "Mike, you'll have to get out there and do it yourself." So I was out there, and I'm painting away, and I think, how do you do this? It's a vast. It was bigger than this studio, this dungeon. in a castle. And we'd all got all these stones had to be now painted.
It's just styrofoam at the moment, yeah?
No, they're not. They're plaster.
Plaster.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, we hadn't done all that. Someone else had done that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd carved the original set piece, you know, and they'd taken moulds off that. Then someone.
So you're in there painting the plaster.
Yeah. Anyway, and it wasn't coming out, and suddenly, thank God, they sent for Billy, he's a Scotsman, came with his team from Australia, and he just got in there and just started chucking buckets of paint at it.
That's how you do it.
I know, it all drifted down, it looked beautiful. And that's how I found out that's how you do it.
Throw the
But
paint
I
on.
didn't know that. Yeah, it took someone to... And then when we did the big death machine down on the edge of the precipice over this lake, we went down there and we had people like welders and scaffolders. We had to build it with scaffold, so we had the basic design platform. Then we had to, and then they left. We had to scale this as a, you know, and we were all just designers and that. Most of us, art directors and things, you know, climbing over this scaffold. And my idea was to get these shapes with chicken wire, and then cover them with rags, and then tie them up. They're supposed to look like. The idea was to look like something like the pink and white terraces that have been destroyed about 100 years before there, which were deposits. You know, like you get, stalactites and that. And so, and we blew foam all over it, blew the polyurethane foam, which goes on flat and then grows. It's a 2-part mix. So it was all sort of hit and miss, and anyway, it grew into this, it looked good after a while. And then we had to paint that, throw paint all over it.
You learned how to do it by then?
Yeah, by that time we knew.
So what other productions can you recall working on there?
There was, Navigator, which was another really big, juicy, fantastic film from the concept artist's point of view to get into.
Which was Vincent Ward again.
No holds barred, you know. I mean, it was you think it up, we'll make it sort of thing.
So what did
except
you do
that we
on that
ended
one?
up making it. Well, there were just, you know, the Angel of Death, all that medieval stuff. He was really hooked into the medieval stuff.
Woody. They're scared of the death.
An offering. We've got to take the offering, Con. To the great church. To the far side of the earth.
One of us will die at the cathedral.
Who dies at cathedral?
Keep attention on it, you! Beware the wind!
There's me on Navigator, Vincent Ward's Navigator, with the Angel of Death. This was the digging machine in the Navigator. That was on Navigator. That was a cloud scene to be shot. That was on the wall. And that was part of the moon for the Navigator, which was never used.
I remember there was a very mixed reaction to that film when it came out, though.
Yeah.
Unusually. Some people didn't take it. Some people, I liked it very much, actually, when it came out.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why. I mean, it was entertaining, I thought.
At 6:12, precisely, Zack Hobson died, and the earth fell silent.
Zack Hobson, July 5th. 1. There has been a malfunction in Project Flashlight with devastating results. 2. It seems I am the only person left on Earth.
We take the scene down. The group collapses.
A Jeff Murphy film, The Quiet Earth. The end of the world is just the beginning.
Quiet Earth
was quite a good film. I liked it. It's a bit of a cult film as far as sci-fi people go, you know. Anyway, that was the last scene. This one.
Yep.
And I did. That was the original. That was the actual original drawing that I showed the director, and he said, "Yeah, love it. Work it up," sort of thing.
So how was that created?
Well,
was it the model work?
Right, no model work. I painted this cloud scene, the unusual cloud scene, with the blue sky, and then I painted satin on a separate board, quite big. They were big. They were very big. And, yeah, I mean 10 foot by something. Like you would on a wall, and then they were shot separately. But it was quite primitive in a way, because the idea is that he stands there, walks down to the ocean front, he's looking and he sees the planet rises very slowly, and the credits come up.
Right.
And to do that shot, they actually had the camera moving. They'd worked out a way of making the camera come down like this or something.
To make it look like it was going up?
Yeah, to make it look like it was going up. I remember thinking, this seems pretty primitive. You'd think they'd just shoot it and then do something with it or something.
So it was just, they photographed the painting and then just did an optical matte, I presume.
Yeah, that's right,
yeah?
optical matte, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was used for the poster.
Right.
A lot of people went along because they liked the look of the poster and a bit disappointed because there weren't any special effects.
So a lot of your work on this is concept art.
Yeah.
And you've shown us some artwork that you've done for other films here as well, such as the Wim Wenders film. What was that?
That was Till the End of the World, and that was here in Australia.
Which was shot here.
Yeah.
So a lot of this concept art, you've had some practical experience on the ground with things like Savage Islands, building the stuff. What made you move to Australia?
Work, really.
So at that point you were still looking for work in the film?
Yeah, well, the film, the tax incentives dried up around the late 80s and managed to carry through for a couple of years, you know, on films that had got squeezed through. And then I came over here and the same thing happened here. It all started drying up here. I got on a couple of films, did some TV ads, and I got into doing book illustration covers, which paid dismal, terrible. And then Muggy, then the first baby came along, and I still worked doing, if I was invited, you know, but, you know, when you got
so
babies.
So you focused more recently on the portrait?
Oh, that's right. Then I could go back to doing my painting,
yeah,
which was my first love and really what I wanted to do anyway. I'd only really gone into the others, because first I was interested in them. Directing myself, I was interested in directing myself. Yeah, I did have aspirations, which quickly melted away.
Why?
When I first saw my first, well, on Savage Islands and all those egotistical people that work on films, I thought, I can't work with this lot, you know. I mean, you never get past other people's ideas, and you have to be pretty strong-willed to be a director, I think.
So did that increase your respect for people like Ferdy Fairfax on that film, or Vincent Ward? People you've worked
Well,
with?
yeah, I guess it did, yeah, from that point of view. I mean, they've got to be tough, single-minded people, and I'm not tough and single-minded. I'm single-minded but not tough. You know, it's hard to deal with other people.
Don't want that much.
And I like to be the boss of everything. So, and the ideal thing is to be, when you're painting,
Well, exactly. If you're doing
you're the man in charge. No one's going to interfere apart from galleries try to tell you not to do skeletons or something like this. But
And you started with the painting with the mace.
Mm.
That got you into the film industry in a kind of roundabout way.
yeah,
Are you interested in getting back into film work?
only if I was offered something that grabbed me, that I was interested in, and didn't take up too much time. I was invited to work with on Lord of the Rings.
Yeah?
Yeah, but as a sort of concept guy, this was after about a year after they'd started, and a good friend of mine, Grant Major, he was the production designer on it, and I'd worked with him on Navigator and stuff, and knew him. And he asked me, and I said, well, I can't come, because I was living in Australia.
Yeah, and just family and everything.
Yeah, we had just had the third baby.
Right.
In a sense, I didn't know what I was turning down.
Yeah.
But you know, you can't do it all.
Yeah.
And would I have gone if I knew that it was going to be as big as it turned out to be? Yes.
Yes.
I probably would have done.
Yeah, I could move the whole
Take
family back to New
yeah.
Zealand for a couple of years.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
But, I mean, yeah, that's the way it goes.
Mike Worrall, thank
Yeah.
you very much for your
That's all
time.
right. Well, thank you, Phil. Thanks. Should we do that again? I don't know the end.
Okay.
Thank you, Phil.
Mike Worrall.
Pleasure.
All you need to make a movie is a gun and a gun. Come along and join the party while we stare at the sun.
So if you got that invitation again to work on a big film, do some concept art, production
Yeah.
design, would you go for it again?
Yeah, I
Phil?
think so, yeah. I need a break. A break from painting.
Right.
Yeah.